When we are studying for the LSAT, there is a certain review method that I want to mention here. What this review method is, I call it blind review. So this is the review method used for logical reasoning, LR, and reading comprehension, RC. Okay, so you're going to hear me refer to these sections by just their acronyms, LR, RC, LG. So be aware of that. Now, blind review, there's a couple ways that we can do blind review, and I wanted to introduce it right now up front so that you guys can go ahead and begin to implement it. So with blind review, essentially what we're doing with blind review is we're really thoroughly breaking down all of these questions that we're doing for practice. So here's an example of how we would do blind review. Let's say that I sit down and I take a practice logical reasoning section. So I time myself, I get 35 minutes, I take the section. After I finish the section, or I'm sorry, actually during the section, as I'm going through it, I am going to circle or put a mark by, in some way note any question that I am not 100% sure that I got correct. For any question that I don't know I got correct, I'm going to circle it, okay? Then I finish this section. After I finish that section, this can be immediately after, later in the day, a few days later. It doesn't really matter when you do it, just that you do it. So what you do is you go back and you look at every single question that you circled, okay? And very importantly, you do this before you look at the right answer choices. So when you go back for blind review and you're blind reviewing a certain question, you do not know what the right answer choice is for that question. This is an imperative part of blind review. So you go back, and what you do is you take as much time as you need going over the question itself, and then also every single answer choice for that question. And you come up with definitive reasons for why the wrong answer choice is wrong and why the right answer choice is right. Definitive reasons for why that is the case. Okay. And this brings me to a very important point about the LSAT, which is that for every single question on the LSAT, every single question, there is one right answer choice and four wrong answer choices. And there are definitive reasons for why that is the case. And if we're adept enough, we can identify those reasons. Okay. Guys, the LSAT is never a matter of picking the best answer choice out of multiple answer choices that could work. There is no LSAT question where you could have multiple answer choices that could be correct, and we have to pick the best one. This is always a matter of picking the right answer choice in the face of four wrong answer choices and one right answer choice. And there will always be definitive reasons for why the wrong ones are wrong and why the right one is right. This is a good thing. This is a very good thing for us because it really eliminates so much ambiguity, right? Because, like it can be really demotivating if you're doing a question. I'm sure that we've all been there before with a question in undergrad or in high school or wherever, where you do a test and the teacher, says, oh, okay, you bring it up afterwards. They're like, oh, okay, well, these two answer choices could work, but the one that you picked is less right. You should have picked this one. That can be really, really kind of unmotivating. So this is a really nice thing about the LSAT, where we know for every question, there's one right answer choice and four wrong ones. We just have to find out why. We just have to identify those reasons, right? So when you do this, when you go back and you do the blind review, this is your practice. You're identifying definitive reasons why the right one is right and why the wrong ones are wrong. What this does is it gets us really familiar, one, with just breaking down the LSAT questions and evaluating them really thoroughly. And I'm sorry, one more important point with blind review is that when you're doing this, you take as much time as much time as you want for any one question. There have been, this is rare, but there have been a few questions that I've blind reviewed where I've spent like 2 hours blind reviewing that single question because it was a really hard question. And I had it down to two answer choices, and I could not figure out why one of them was wrong. They both seemed right to me. So I would just sit there, and I would like leave it. I would come back to it. So, I've spent 2+ hours thinking about a single LSAT question. A few times I've done that. Now, you generally shouldn't do that, right? You don't want to spend 2 hours with all these questions. That's too much. But the idea is you take as much time as you need to identify the reasons for why the right one is right and why the wrong ones are wrong. And what this does is it gets us really familiar with why wrong answer choices are wrong on the LSAT, which is super, super important because the reasons that wrong answer choices are wrong on the LSAT will repeat themselves across questions. Okay, so I'll see a certain question and the answer choice or one of the wrong answer choices will be wrong for a certain reason. And then on a different question, another wrong answer choice for that question will be wrong for the exact same reason. So these wrong answer choice patterns, you guys, they repeat themselves, okay? So the more we explicitly identify them, and I see, okay, this is why D is wrong, the more familiar I am getting with that reason for why that wrong answer choice is wrong. And I'm going to see that again. I'm going to see an answer choice that is wrong for that same reason on a future question. Okay. And, with multiple choice questions, as you guys know, process of elimination is a super important thing that we want to be implementing, a tactic that we want to be implementing when we're doing any multiple choice test, especially so on the LSAT. Okay. There are some questions that I do on the LSAT where I don't know why the right answer choice is right. I do not know why. I cannot identify the right answer choice as being correct. However, I can identify reasons for why the four wrong answer choices are wrong. And then that can in turn lead me to the right answer choice. So I can get a question right without even knowing why the right answer choice is right. Okay? So process of elimination is a hugely important thing that we're going to be implementing on the LSAT. And so one part of that is being able to identify why wrong answer choices are wrong. And again, those reasons are going to repeat themselves. So blind review is where we really think about those reasons in depth and we get very, very familiar with them. Now, when you're doing blind review, you want to be careful to not let yourself make any little assumptions or jump through any little mental hoops. This is a practice that requires a high degree of awareness because, I'm sure that we've all been in this position before where we kind of have an idea and the idea makes sense in our head. Then we try to explain that idea to someone and we realize it's not really as fleshed out as we felt like it was, right? We don't actually really know all of the details of this thing, whatever it is that we're trying to explain, right? And you want to be careful to not let yourself come to that point when you're blind reviewing questions for the LSAT, okay? You don't want to be blind reviewing a certain answer choice and say, oh, okay, I think it's wrong for this reason, and then move on. You want to be explicit, very clear on, okay, why is it wrong? Definitively, to the point where if someone were sitting there beside you, you could articulate to them perfectly why that answer choice is wrong. Okay. So be very careful here. Don't let yourself jump through any little mental hoops or make these little assumptions in these explanations because fleshing out those assumptions and being very explicit and clear on what your reasoning is for every answer choice is very, very important for blind review.